Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. I'm your host, Hannah MacDonald, and I'll be bookending the conversation with some of the most exciting voices from the bookish world. Today, I'm in conversation with the wonderful author, Ericka Waller. Ericka is a Brighton-based writer. Prior to writing novels, Ericka worked as a blogger and columnist. Her debut novel, Dog Days, was published in 2021 and was widely praised by authors and reviewers alike. Her second novel, Goodbye Birdie Greenwing, was published by Doubleday in the UK last month. On the novel, Catherine Heine says Waller writes beautifully about the complex love that bonds the most dysfunctional of families and forges the most unlikely of friendships. It will resonate with readers everywhere, and I couldn't agree more. So we're here to chat all about it. We've finally got through the intro. Welcome, Ericka, to A Pair of Bookends.
Sorry, say my name again.
Don't make me do that again. No, you don't understand, listeners. I've had such an issue just trying to say a surname. That's embarrassing.
My friend is called Zara, like Zara, but with an S, and I can't say it. So I have to call her Hara, like Sahara, because I can't say her name. It's not Zara or Sarah. It's Zara. But I can't do it. I put Zara with a big Z.
I mean, your surname is not that difficult to say. I don't know why I struggled so much. So
if I'd known, I would have given you a much harder name to pronounce.
To start us off, Ericka, I need to ask you what you're currently reading.
Right, thank you for this question. I'm reading The Ministry of Time.
Oh my gosh, I've heard so much about this. Talk to me.
That wet noise is my kids gave me this thing off Shein that sticks your phone.
Oh God.
Right, I'm just going to tell you, Ministry of Time is by, you can say it, is it
Callianne Bradley? Yeah, let's say that.
Yeah. Complaints into you, Caribrian. I can't pronounce anything, and it is brilliant. It's about time travel and a mystery. It's very clever. I have had to Google some words.
Me every time I read a book.
Have you read it?
No, I'm desperate to get my hands on it, but nobody will send me a proof. Snake behaviour. Oh, well, that's nice for you. I'm so happy for you.
I only got approved because I asked my agent to get one, because she sometimes gets sent to proof. When I asked, they were like, Ericka. My agent, she got one, so she sent it to me. And then I did that thing. I went into a bookshop in Birmingham, and to try and make them like me, so they might see Birdie. I was like, "What are you reading?" And I listened to this really lovely guy called Adam, all about Ministry of Time, which has just come out. So I bought the hardback, even though I had the book in my bag. Like, this keeps happening to me. I go in and I want people to like me, or I don't know. So I buy whatever book they recommend, and I just got a whole shelf of books like ultra processed foods, Ministry of Pain. Just so.
Do you know what though? I think I listened to a podcast that you gave today, and it was the Joined Up Writing podcast. That's what it was called. And
Wayne is everything. I'm going to get you and Wayne to do a podcast together, and it'll be the best thing that ever happened to you. He's just brilliant.
But I listened to the episode that you did, and you were talking about anxiety, and I struggle with anxiety as well. And I feel like this is a thing with people with anxiety, is that like we just want to like make everybody happy. It's very much like a people please type situation. So I totally get that with the walking into a bookshop and being like, yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds brilliant. I really want to know about ultra processed food. I'm going on holiday to eat nothing. Like, literally, I'm spending all my savings to go to Florida to eat literally processed food. And I was like, I really care about this, actually. Have been more timely. And then with the Empire Plane, I was like, which is about the opioid crisis and how it started in the company that ran it. And I was like, well, I do take a lot of painkillers. And I was like, oh, just you don't have to pretend that you've got an emotional. I keep doing it. And then I never mention my book either. So I go in and I come out. And my husband's like, bought a book you didn't want. I'm like, mention your book. No.
I think if I ever see you pop up on Vinted with an account, I'm just going to notice all the books are going to be books that you just bought that you didn't want.
No, I'm going to read them. It's like, you'll finish your dinner. I will read those books. Did I recommend, or is it that I recommended, sorry, to go back, did I recommend a book called, I've no brain because you've made me laugh. I recommended a book by Dr. Claire Weeks called Essential Help for Your Nerves, which I recommend to everybody with anxiety, alongside copious amounts of anti-anxiety medication, which I take, and any kind of expensive aromatherapy spray. I seem to be sucked into that.
Lavender.
Yeah, weighted blanket, draped up. I'm like a Hannah's dream. And helps with anxiety. I'll take 42.
Literally.
Like,
I think you might be deficient in this vitamin. Great, I'll take all of it.
And that'll fix me.
Yes.
When we went away, like my friends, between us, we took like a fan, half of the aromatherapy associates, our own blankets, pillows. We were going away for one night. We were like, I've got anxiety. I've had to clean my entire house for today. But that book is really good, actually. I'll mention recommendations at the end, but that is, I mean, obviously I'm still as anxious as I ever was. I loved reading.
We've taken all the help, and yet here we are.
I've absorbed all that in. Osmosed it all in.
And here we are.
And you're gonna buy it to please me, and you're never gonna
I am gonna buy it to please you. I'll tag you in the post and everything.
You can't buy it new, so you can only get it on new and used, and it'll cost you but penny.
Okay, I will find it secondhand.
If you didn't do 20 quid on a book you already had in your bag just to please someone you're never going to see again.
I can't believe you've done that. Shocking.
It's insane. Like, if you said to me, right, Ericka, if you want to come on this podcast, I need something from you. You better come around and clean my house. I'd be like, James, I've got to get up. Get up Manchester with my cleaning trolley.
Stop. Do you know what? To be fair, my house could do.
Yeah, I'm looking right.
I need to ask about your book, because that's the point of you being here. We're going to chat about your book, your second novel, Goodbye Birdie Greenwing.
Yep.
Could you tell our listeners what your book is about? Right, serious now.
Yes, I can.
Yes, good.
Goodbye Birdie Greenwing is a book about three very different women, and they are all very unhappy for different reasons, and they all live on the same street. And through a series of incidents, their lives intertwine.
Very good. You've condensed that.
I used to just say, it's not crime. Everybody I speak to goes, oh, sorry, I only read crime. So, like, now I just...
Oh, God,
And
no.
Goodbye Birdie Greenwing could be like someone took her out, like they killed her.
That would be interesting, to be honest. If somebody was to take her out, which character do you think it would be? Let's start there.
Frankie.
Really?
Min.
I was going to say Min.
You could maybe write that fanfic.
Yeah.
For the
I should. Min putting like poison in a tea. I'm sick of you spending time with my family instead of me. Bye.
You're dust bird.
Very dark, very quickly. We are going to get questions asked here.
Yeah.
You wrote in an article for writing.ie, which I think is an Irish website. It was a very good article. I enjoyed it very much. You said... What? I have. I'd like to do a lot of research. I like to see everything that somebody's done. But you but you said in this that book 2 is like that fashion fringe you cut in for yourself and then immediately regret. It was a pain in the arse to grow out, but grow out it finally did. Yeah, I like that very much. But why do you think it was much more difficult a process writing your second book?
When I wrote Dog Days, I hoped but didn't know it would get published. So I was writing for myself. I didn't have an audience, didn't think it was going to go anywhere. So I just had quite a lovely time going up to London once a week on my course and writing a book. And then Dog Days was liked as it was, more or less. Well, in the original Dog Days, the dogs talked, and that got taken out. And I have great regret about this, because I don't know whether you've heard of a book called Lessons in Chemistry, but there was a talking dog in that, and it seemed to do really well. When I was writing book 2, I didn't know whether I could write a good book again. I was worried I was going to let people down because people who liked Dog Days really liked it, and I was worried. You know, it's got lots of... Have you read it? You've not? Don't worry. I'll send you a free copy.
I'm shit. No, I've not. I'm sorry.
Right, cancel this. Come on. Dog Days has lots of twists and turns, and it didn't know whether I could replicate them. Had a complete breakdown in positivism. I'm not worthy. Didn't know what I was trying to say. Like with Dog Days, I knew I was exploring grief, and I knew that I was sort of change and growth. But with Birdie, I was like, well, I've not been anywhere. I've not travelled. I don't have a message. I don't have a degree. What do I know about? But I know about not being in the cool gang, and I know about autism because I have an autistic daughter. And the other thing is, I got married young and I had children young, which I don't regret, but I didn't travel. And then after, it's not a sob story, after I had my children, I developed rheumatoid arthritis, which is in my family, so like fine. And now I won't travel, which is fine. So my children have been my great adventure. But I'm very aware that other women couldn't have children, didn't want children, aborted children, adopted children. And I really care about kind of representing choices that I didn't make that are still as good, if not better, more than mine. So I wanted to create a group of characters that kind of encompass all the different ways you're a mum, whether you're a mum because you're a nurse and you look after patients, or whether you're a mum because you care for your niece, or whether you couldn't be a mum or you didn't want to be a mum, which is also just cool and fine. So I think that was on my mind, because I sometimes like to imagine, sometimes I like to imagine different versions of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you were to pull back an elastic band, I wonder how far I could have gone if I hadn't messed up all my exams, got pregnant really young, you know, like all those things.
Yeah.
Like, I could be too busy to have this interview because I could be in a power suit in New York right now. Just
Well,
saying,
I'm very glad that you're not.
I am too, because I've been because of the anxiety.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I think I know a little bit about these things, so I'm going to explore. Sounds really pretentious. I didn't explore anything. I just wrote about 57,000 million drafts till it was all right.
You're being harsh on yourself. This is a
No,
wonderful book.
Thank you, but I'm being honest, it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, it's gone through. There was a brilliant sex scene that got cut out.
Fuming that I didn't get to read that.
I'm going to sneak it online.
Please do.
Like it has, it's been worked. I've got the most amazing editor. I hope I've still got her, because I've done my books now, so I might never work with her again. I hope I do. But she really knows what's good and what needs cutting, and very good at. She worked as hard on the book as me on. So
I love that. So this was a 2-book deal then. So do you think there was an element of like pressure that played into that then, that made the process a bit more difficult? Is that you felt like you had to churn out a second book?
Again, my editor was great. She was like, take as much time as you need. I'm not going to rush you. You know,
Right, okay.
She pushed all my deadlines back. She was super cool. If I'd said I can't do it for a couple of years, she'd have been amazing. I became obsessed with the fact that she bought Dog Days. She read Dog Days, she bought it, but she didn't choose to buy Birdie. And I got in my head about it, like, but would she choose to buy it? And everyone was like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, just stop talking. But I was like, I was trying to write a book that she would want to buy, but she already had wanted to buy. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Like, you kind of think, like, with publishing or maybe with other stuff, you think once you get through that door, that, like, you and I think, oh, this spray will get rid of all my anxiety. And then you're like, oh my God, but it's still there. And I think I'm still feel a little bit like I'm going to get found out, or does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it totally does. I definitely get that as an actor, that I'll land a job doing something off the back of an audition, and then I'll kind of go into the rehearsals and be like, I don't belong here. What am I doing here?
When we did that book taster, I was in the author room and I walked in it, and there's like Matt Gale there, Kate Sawyer, Daisy Buchanan, Matt Coyne, Susan Fletcher, and I just walked straight back out. I was like, nope, won't be eating my lunch in there. Just couldn't cope with it. I think it is a working class thing. I think you're
for sure.
You have a chip on your shoulder. People are expecting you to fail. We weren't expected to amount to much. So you get this kind of one part of you is like, I'm going to prove you all wrong, because I was told I'd never get anywhere. And another part of you is,
I think it's definitely that. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do the podcast was because I'd listened to so many great book podcasts, but that were by very middle class people, and I was hearing them talk about books, and they're using all these big fancy words and saying all these fancy things, and I was like, well, I just fucking love books. Like, I love them and I want to chat about them, and there needs to be a space for that where people don't have to be fancy and come out with all these like schmoozy lines.
And I've been helping my daughter revise for GCSEs, and she's asking me about poetry. She's like, what's enjambment? And I was like, no idea. What's a volta? No idea. What does this word mean? I was like, dude, I don't know how I do what I do. Don't ask me technical stuff about GCSE literature or language, because I don't know. And now you've got me worried. And now I don't, so what I like about writing and reading is, as long as you can write and read, the sky's the limit for you. But I read everything, and I'm not ashamed of it. I read everything and anything. I love fantasy so much, probably because it's like a holiday for me, because I'm never going to write fantasy, because I'm definitely not intelligent enough to do that. And I just want to talk to people and go, but did you read that book? But did you love it? But did you love this page? But what about that? And who's your favourite character? And when we have to stand back and look at the book as like a piece of art and an exploration or whatever, I don't know, you've lost it, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get some fantasy recommendations out of you because I've only read Fourth Wing. I've like not, I know I've read Babel as well, but I've not read like many fantasy books at all. And I'm reading one at the moment, and
What is it?
The Serpent and the Wings of Night.
Okay.
Stop! No,
Castle to Hammer.
no, don't.
Good fantasy, aromatherapy. I guess any book you're enjoying is a brilliant book, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't think I was intelligent enough to read fantasy. My brother's dyslexic, so he can only listen to audiobooks, but he's super bright, which is brilliant because when we were at school, if you were dyslexic, you got to go into the classroom with the deaf kid, the one with a built-up shoe, and a cleft lip, and the really naughty one, and you were all just, here you go, what you can achieve. And everybody in that room's like, actually, we can achieve anything if you just give us the right support. So he grew up thinking he was too thick to do stuff, la la la. He's an absolute genius. And he was giving me these fantasy books to listen to. And I was like, bro, I don't want to read about wizards and dragons. I was so annoying. And then, okay, Hannah, your life changed. He told me to listen to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Changed my life.
Really?
I love books for a lot of things, but you know when you just want to be told a fantastic story, like a kid's a really brilliant, can't stop listening, it's raining outside, you're under your cover. My brother gave me this gift with fantasy and it just took me on a journey, and it's my happy place to go.
Okay, well, I'm excited for these recommendations. Yeah. I need to ask you more about your book. I absolutely loved this book, and I have got to be so careful about the way that I speak about it because I don't want to give any spoilers. I want everybody to have their own experiences with it and to not give anything away. There's a moment towards the end that I literally just had to take a moment and close the book and just have a sit in silence. And I think you know which moment I'm talking about. I mean, we know the direction that the book's heading in from the get-go, but it still took my breath away the way that you wrote it. It was so beautiful. But the novel does begin with Birdie, one of your protagonists, receiving a terminal cancer diagnosis. And I don't think that's a spoiler because it's on the first page, so I hope I'm allowed to say that. But what drew you to beginning the book at this like pivotal moment in somebody's life?
I really wish I had a really clever answer.
Whatever you say will be clever, I'm sure.
But I don't want to sound pretentious because I'm not at all. The only thing I
You never will.
is I think my head is a bit like a sausage factory. Go with me. Let's go there.
Let's go there.
I hear things and I see things and I watch people and I do stuff and stuff comes in and stuff comes out, and I just had this idea for this old woman receiving bad news but really happy about it. I thought, that'd be interesting. I didn't even think it'd be interesting. It's just I got this little thing in my head, and I remember writing the first scene, which has been rewritten a lot, but it's essentially the same thing. Just like, oh, why is she happy? Why is she happy to be told she hasn't got long to live? And then I always do these I have historically always done these like 3 different characters and then they overlap differently, and originally you don't see why they've all got something in common. And I just I knew I wanted to write an autistic character because of Daisy. I don't know where Ada came from. These people kind of just appeared. I mean, there was obviously I don't know who it was. It was somebody who's far. I wish I could have said this, but I think it was something like Paper Palace, or it was the author of a book, something like that. And they said, when I was writing, I didn't know what I was doing. And when I'd finished, I wasn't aware of what I'd done. And I was like, yeah, that, but without thinking I'd done something world-ending, doesn't it?
No, but you know what I love about this book is that it feels like a proper like celebration of women, and in all their like eccentricities and all their differences, like it's all celebrated, and I love that so much. But I was particularly, and I want to zone in on one of the characters, because I would like to know how you. What? Sorry.
Let's do it. Zone in.
Well, I wanted to know how you created the cast of them because I think they're all so brilliant in their own ways. But I really loved Jane and her story, and I was so fascinated by it because she's buried so much of herself, of her identity, and it's not until like much later in the book where it feels like she fully embraces herself, which feels like a total opposite to her daughter, who seems to, who does embrace herself, and I think she's been brought up that way. But what inspired her story, or like what inspired this cast of characters?
I think Jane, probably, joking aside from Minnie, is the most like me. Like, feels so okay. I wasn't cool. This is going to shock you. I wasn't a cool kid.
You're so cool. Are you joking?
Right, ringworm is a horrible. Let's go back to ringworm. Ringworm is an infection you catch off rabbits, and you get like rings of green and black and purple. And not only did I have to quarantine for a long time, when I went back to school, I had to wear gauze like a sort of mid-century poet, and I had to wear a badge that said contagious.
Stop.
I knew not to come. I did. And then I was a kid, my parents are very social drinkers. I was in the pub every night till God knows when, turned up at school, smelling of cigarettes at a young age. And my mum used to buy Viz. I don't know if you know Viz, it's a really sweary magazine. And I used to know the swear words. And I remember meeting my friend Gary in the graveyard, because our school was attached to the graveyard, and teaching him new swear words each week. And I remember I can only have been in year 5 or 6, and instead of saying yes Mrs. Peacock, I just said yes Mrs. Bollocks. I read it on my mum's magazine. So I was weird, anxious. Now I'd have been diagnosed. I'm probably autistic or ADHD or whatever. We're all on the spectrum. I don't think there's levels, or maybe there's levels, but I don't think there's off and on. I think it's a big circle we go round. In hindsight, I probably just needed, a cheese sandwich and a little bit of help, but I really struggled. I had such bad anxiety at school, and I always used to think I was going to pass out or throw up, and I just waited for the bell to ring. And so I didn't really have a great group of friends because I wasn't very present. Anxiety eats the moment you're in because you're worried and you've got that voice in your head. So all through school, I was just like, you're going to pass out, you're going to throw up, don't eat that, you're going to be sick, don't do that, don't go there, you're going to fall over, you need to pull the wall. And so I didn't have anything to give, and I let people down a lot because I was really flaky and I was scared, so I was anxious. Back then we didn't talk about anxiety. I thought I was losing my mind. I remember reading the bell jar and thinking, right, well, yeah, this is me, this is, and being really scared of it. So I think that possibly stayed with me. So even though I am confident and I'll speak and stuff, there's definitely a version of me that lives in my head that still don't say that. You're not. And when it comes to approaching a group of women, I hate it because I don't drink. And I look crap in a dress, and I don't paint my nails, and I'm not very girly, and I don't know how to be girly, and I didn't have female role models. So I just feel like a lad, because I had older brothers as well. So I just feel like I don't know the language. I don't know the way to behave. I've never had girls' holidays or, a gaggle, Facebook pictures, profiles, or even NCT. I paid to join the NCT with my second daughter, and I got asked to leave. I'd paid because the exercise was draw what you think your experience of giving birth would be. Well, I'd already given birth before to my first daughter, and everybody else had taken all the other crayons. So I was literally red, I was left with black and red. So I drew a really angry vagina because and they were like, it's not really in keeping with, And then I was like, oh, don't worry, it won't be as bad because I'll have an epidural. And they were like, we don't really like to use terms like epidural. I was just, and I was like, oh, I'll buy friends. Because then to me, NCT is buying a load of fakes. Let's be fair, you pay a couple $100 to make some friends. And all my other friends are like, oh, stick me up with NCT girls, and my daughter's 97 this year, and I literally didn't even get past the first week.
Oh my
God.
So
Jane was built of, I joke, and it's fine, but I just used to screw it up, I really used to, or when you go out and you have a good time, you come home and you went, oh my God, remember when you said that, which is what I'll do after this.
Yeah.
When you tell them that, oh yeah, great, and then you tell them that story, terrific, that's good, and then you spoke for ages and didn't anybody else speak and you didn't thank them. And I just sometimes find life exhausting, and I don't think I'm the only person. I really don't believe I'm the only one. Even people who look like they're owning it or eating it, I've told you, is eating it. Eating it. They're not eating it.
No, they're not eating it.
They're spitting it straight back out.
I'm using that. No, that resonates with me so much because I feel exactly the same. I'm constantly like, why the fuck did I say that? Or just reliving moments in my head. I'll get 5 hours sleep because I was lay awake thinking about a conversation for hours on end.
And then I really get anxious about my career. And then people say to me, you need to have faith in yourself. If you don't have faith in yourself, nobody else is going to. So then I apologise a lot. I'm the person that apologises to people that walk into me. And
yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I'm sorry for being alive.
I'm sorry I exist. I take up this small space. I just apologise for my thighs because, as I told you, I've hit menopause hard. Something's happened. It's not good. And I actually say to my family, I'm really sorry, guys, I'm going to have to get in the bath. So just don't come upstairs because the thighs are coming out.
Oh, stop.
My husband's like, you're being a really bad role model. You're raising daughters. And then I'm just I'm really sorry that I'm sorry about it. I'm just I try really hard all day. Sometimes I do it okay, and sometimes I get stuff wrong, but we're just human. And I just wanted to write human characters. Because there's something, and I said to you before, we went on, so often I feel like, and you say it with your acting, I feel like I'm about to get found out, or I'm about to get kicked out, or somebody's going to ask me a question that I don't know how to answer. And it does something to you as a person, I think. And, you know, we went to a school where we made ashtrays and cribs. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, because that was like, you go, maybe a van driver, let's not, you know, like Mickey Flanagan said it, didn't he? Like,
Yeah.
like, you were loads of that. We weren't expected to go anywhere or do it. University was not one, man. Went to uni, were we? And I still feel a fraud.
Yeah.
I still feel that I should be putting lids on wasp spray in the factory. It was like, that's where everybody worked after school. Like, and we got taken to the factory, like on a school trip. Like, right, here up, do what, this is your life.
Oh my God. Do you feel any different now that you've written the second book? Do you not feel different now that like you've achieved?
Like I'm never going to get another. No, I'm never going to get another book. I'm waiting. I've started new work. I'm waiting to hear back from it. Obviously, in my head, because now you know me and we're best friends, it's the worst thing she's ever read. She's angry with me for even thinking. Oh, I go there so hard with catastrophizing. You know, like spiraling. Oh, I'm actually going to get a letter of complaint by my agent. You know, like no. But you know what, Hannah? I don't want to be super confident because actually I have been made to feel so crap by various, you know, I told you about the Dash and Bell story, and that's one example. You know, trying to confide in someone that my dog poos on a rug and then get told, well, why haven't you taught them to ring a bell? I was like, well,
whose dog rings a bell?
Bells, and mine just poos every day in the same spot. Most mornings start with me or my husband flushing our foot down the toilet because there's a dashant poo in between our toes.
Don't. That's so gross.
Do I feel successful?
No. I think that's so real, having to flush your foot down the toilet.
Yeah, just easy. Get that down there, flush that, get a bit of glue on it.
Absolute joy.
Publishing is so like, oh, you got a book published. What, you didn't get spreadsheets? What, you didn't get a Waterstones limited edition? What, you're not a Goldsboro subscription box? What, you haven't got this? You haven't got all this, that, the other. Oh, you haven't got a big display in blah 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 blah. There's still a million ways to fail.
Yeah.
Not just write a book or a good book. I think there should be like a court of fair justice where every publisher gets a certain amount of money spent on a book cover, and then people have to choose by content. Because I'm a utopian socialist, so to me, like, right, £10 for the cover, do your best. Because you can have a massive budget on a book that is an easy sell but not necessarily really good, and then I read books that I love so much and they're mind-blowing and they don't get much traction or they don't get seen. And obviously BookTok has a lot to do with that. I still read TikTok recommendations because I'm a hypocrite. I'm like, oh, loads of people like it, I'll like it
because somebody's told you to read it, so you're like, I'll have to buy it.
But also, like, there is a lot of the publisher tells you it's a good book, you get told it's a good book, this is a good book, this is a good book, this is a good book, and then like Richard Osman comes out with Cozy Crime, and it's like, if you like Cozy Crime, he's a really good example that was written a long time ago. But people, I don't want that one, I want that one. And then it's a difficult space, and it's not anybody's fault. Publishing has to make money. I'm not knocking the industry, but with regards to feeling like a success, I don't know many people, published authors, that would sit here and comfortably say, yeah, I feel really secure, I really think I'm a success.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know many that don't have a full-time day job. I wouldn't be living off sales, let's say that.
No, I hear that quite a lot. And but I do think it is a thing with creatives that like we just aren't very good with confidence. And I think if you struggle with anxiety like we do, it makes it 10 times worse, you know. It's so difficult.
Really unconfident, but I'm like, here, I've written this book, I want you all to read it. And you're like, I've got no confidence. I'm coming on the stage. Like extra, we're really annoying because we're like, praise me, I don't believe it, but I need the praise. But you know, I'm fully aware I'm an asshole.
Yeah, me too.
But now I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I can't change. Like, I've really tried, and I can't. This is me and my mold, and there's nothing I can do about it. You know, I am anxious and insecure, but from what I've seen of really secure people, I don't really like them. Probably envy, but I find them quite smug.
I get that. I want to talk about.
Yeah, go on.
Something because I'm really interested about this whole what we've been speaking about with confidence and stuff like that. And I think one thing that definitely helps is having a good community of people, like a good community around you. And I think that's something that this book explores really well is the importance of community. Did you kind of realise that was where the book was going? Did you realise that was going to be an important theme in the book?
Well, I keep telling you that I'm not right. It was my editor that told me to put them all on the same street, and it was my husband that thought of the twist. So can we just lower your expectations? You. So joking aside, nothing I've ever achieved, I've particularly achieved on my own. And I suppose I sort of wanted to create a world that maybe I don't live in. I have friends, and I don't want to. I've got brilliant friends, amazing friends. Shit, that's offended everybody. But I have people that I can knock on their door down the road and borrow a cup of sugar. No, we don't live near any of my family or my husband's family. All of the best friends in my life have died in various awful circumstances. And so maybe I was writing a little bit a dream version of life. Because really, your friends do let you down, or you stop talking, or you fall out over something, or you're both really busy. Even if they live just down the road, you're too busy to see them, and it ends up being like, I can meet you 8 months on Tuesday. Actually, I'm busy. Real life is different. And I think we escaped a book, or if books reflected real life, it would be so boring. So you have to kind of level up slightly. And I do think women being kind to women is just probably the best thing in the entire world.
It is. But I mean, women being kind to women, yes. But there's a lot of mother-daughter dynamics in the book, and I've spoken on the podcast before about how interested I am in that dynamic, because I think it's not always the kindest of dynamics. I think it's probably the most complex of dynamics. I certainly know that God, I love my mum so much, but she doesn't half drive me up the bloody wall, and she'll probably be nodding along if she heard this. Like, she wouldn't really care that I've said that. But I feel like there's such a variety of the mother-daughter relationships in your book. Why did you want to feature those?
Right. I have a horrible mother.
Oh, don't say that.
She'd say that. She's an alcoholic. She would say that as well. She is an anorexic alcoholic just for fun. Why not? Have a few more things. Just wants to smoke a fag and have a whiskey. Which is just like a woman having a tapeworm. They used to swallow them to keep thin. It's just another method. She is very, very intelligent. She is, without her and her genetics and her grandmother, who was a writer, I would not have my talent. I admire her. I'm fascinated by her, but she is not maternal. She would say that. If she was listening to the podcast, she wouldn't be offended. She wouldn't cry. There's a big dedication in the back of the book about difficult women.
Mm-hmm.
Every woman in my family is really fucking difficult. Really awkward, really unmovable, really opinionated, really just pains in the arse. Super bright. And so, come on, when you don't have a nice mum, or you don't have a mum that's interested in you, it's just a wonderful, complex box of emotions. Like, here you are, here's abandonment, and here's you not being good enough, and here's if only I was prettier, or liked horses, or whatever. So in my first draft of this book, Birdie, my editor said all your female characters are horrible. And I only know how to write female characters horribly because my experiences of women haven't been wizard. I mean, I remember, so we went to middle school where I grew up in Hertfordshire. So you go to school from 5 to 9, 9 to 13, and 13 to 16 or 18. On the first day of middle school, my best friend, who was my only friend, just turned around to me and she said, those girls want me to hang around with them, but they don't want you to hang around with them. So you can't ever talk with me or sit with me again. I just got properly dumped. First day of middle school. And I was that kid that joined the weather club, pretending I was interested in the weather. Just at lunchtime, I had somewhere to go, so nobody saw us sit on my own. I was like, oh, yes, barometer. Pressure, I love that. And I've been really hurt by girls and let down by girls. And I've just got a million stories of me getting it wrong, really wrong. And again, like when I think now I probably would have been diagnosed with autism, maybe I still think it's my fault. Sometimes I start to forgive myself, like actually maybe you weren't in the wrong there. But I think I've got a really complicated idea of female characters. And I really do care about women like me who don't particularly have great female role models in their lives. Like people go, it's your mum that I'm like, yeah, she gave birth to me. Like she's my mum.
Yeah.
And I respect her and I speak with her and I'll go and see her and I send her books. She started to read those, and then she said it was so good I had to stop reading it. And then I sent her a copy of Birdie because she was like, I'm not paying £16. So yeah, and then the other day I tried to ask her about the menopause because I'm in it, and she went, I was on a bus in Italy. That was it.
Right.
And I went, oh, cool, right, excellent, cool. That, Yeah, thanks, Mum. Terrific, terrific. So if I want to have a laugh, yeah, I can speak with her. She's super bright, as I say, but no maternal warmth. So I grew up a lot with my great aunt, who's slightly min, I suppose, but much sort of nicer than min in some ways. And all my other friends were like, oh, you're so lucky your parents go to the pub every night and you can do what you want. And I liked to go to my great aunt's house, who had flannel sheets, and like told me it's 8 o'clock, go to bed. I loved it. I was like, oh, I've got to go to bed now. You know, like kids need boundaries. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
of
I
course.
wanted something to push against. So my whole vibe in my house is trying to recreate my aunt's house. And I really, anything old lady, so I'm like, oh, it's like who? So I think I wanted the generational gap relationship between Frankie and Min and Frankie and Birdie is something that I know because a lot of my friends are a lot older. And I think that you can have cross. I mean, you're super young and cool, and I'm older than you, but we're best friends, right?
Definitely, we're best friends. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, and we're not the same age, you know.
No.
But and you've got that accent, and I've got mine.
Don't come from a Manchester accent, please.
Your accent is so much better than mine. So I think I've always cared about making people feel better. When I first had my children, I had 3 kids far too close together. It was a terrible idea. And it was really difficult. But my mum had 3 kids close to bed. Like, she had 3 kids close together. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I need to do, because I've got this weird love me, accept me, I don't care if you love me thing with my mum, which has paid off because I've got 3 daughters who are good friends. And I love that. And they let me in their little group, which I love even more. They're like the little witches in Macbeth. And I just, I love them. And I'm going somewhere with this. And I started writing about my experience of being a parent after realizing that a lot of parent bloggers were talking about how great it was. And my friend's got really good anecdotes about this. She was talking with her friend saying how hard it was. Her son wasn't sleeping through the night. And her other friend was saying like, oh, my son sleeps all night long. My son sleeps all night long. And she just turned around and she went, well, your son doesn't like you as much as mine likes me, because he wakes up to see me in the night. And it just gets to that point as a mum where you're like, I'm trying to share something hard.
Yeah.
And you're just making me feel like, oh, I've just told you I haven't slept for 3 weeks. You've told me your kid sleeps. Or I've just told you I can't lose my baby weight. And you've said you were straight back in your maternity jeans. And what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
We're supposed to be helping each other. I just started a blog about all the mums who are crying and licking like cereal packets, you know, and didn't get the milk and sort of really not feeling like you're on it. Here's a place for you to come, and I'm going to try and normalize not feeling like you're knowing what you're doing, and I'll try and be funny, but I'll try and be honest. So I think because I did that for years before I wrote books, it's still in me to kind of say like, all you weirdos, all you people that don't fit in. I mean, and I attract them, like literally, like they come. I went away for the weekend, and anybody, like they're just like, I'm going to go and speak to this person. I care about them.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I always try and write a book that makes the people that struggle to feel seen a little bit more seen.
Yeah, it feels like a real celebration of people that kind of don't fit the stereotype or don't fit in. I feel like it is a real celebration of that, and it's so nice that they all kind of find each other and build these friendships. I thought it was a really like uplifting book in that sense, but I also did, whilst it is uplifting and there's so many funny moments to it, there are some dark parts of the book that you explore. Rather than saying dark, I think you're real about parts of life that are kind of uncomfortable or that people sort of shy away from speaking about, you know, things like death and grief and mortality and all those sorts of conversations. But I wanted to know, because I was quite curious when I was reading this, I'm an anxious wreck when it comes to thinking about death. What are your feelings about death, and did sort of writing about it in this book change any feelings towards that?
So listen, I know a lot of people that have died, and they've all died really quickly with no warning. So I have no experience of like, here's some bad news, but you've got to live a bit of time. My very good friend at work had an aneurysm and she passed away at work, passed away that evening, which was a massive trigger in me changing my life and becoming a writer, because she never got to say goodbye to her children. I talked about this on stage at the book taster, and everybody was crying and I was crying, and it was dreadful. So I'm going to not go there massively.
Okay.
But when she passed away, she had 3 very young children. I just had Grace, and I thought, what are you doing? Look at life. Look at how quick life is, and look how quickly it can be taken away. These kids are not going to see their mum again. And she was having massive guilt about putting them in breakfast club and after school club. And I could break everybody's hearts in the whole world about this, but I don't want to, because the point is that I thought, you're in a job you hate, you're doing everything wrong. So I gave up my job and I did my journalist degree, and I sort of changed my life in honour of. And an anecdote is the leather jacket in Birdie was, I have it, it's Sarah's jacket, that's my friend's name. I've only got it because I tell this story. Her sister's boobs are too big to fit in it, but my little sleeve slopes wedge in there, lovely nice. So my book is dotted with actual stuff that happened. And then, and I said this before, my friend Morris was in the Shurame disaster. He was the chauffeur driving the Daimler, and the plane crashed into his car. It was all over the news. Everybody knows it. Everybody saw it. And I'd spoken to him that very morning, and he was gone, you know. And then with my aunt as well, she fell and cracked her hip. She phoned me up and she said, I've only cracked my hip. There's no need to come. And then when I got to hospital to see her, because she's back in Hertfordshire and I live in Brighton, she couldn't speak anymore because then she'd got an infection that went to her brain, and then she died really horribly. And I've only ever known that person's died, but you've got to get up, you've got to get on, you can't let anybody see you crying. You know, you've got to process that grief, but you've got 3 children who are looking at you, and you can't break and you can't fall. And again, you know, James lost his best friend Yeti in lockdown, cancer. We couldn't see him. We had one brilliant day where we went to try and help him build a bed, and we're like the Chuckle brothers, James and I. We're not very DIY, and we had this one really lovely day, and then he went really quick, like really hard and really quick. And I remember James just walking into me and just saying, oh, my best friend's not here. And I don't want to hurt people or make people feel sad, but you know, for example, there's a massive crack on the wall next to me, the shower in there doesn't work, the deck's broken, but when I got the payment for my hardback, I put it towards a holiday, because life is too short. And everything I've learned, I'm like, do you know what, my kids aren't really going to remember they're not going to remember the cracks in the shower or the fact that the shower doesn't work. And I think maybe I wrote Birdie so people to have another version of how death can go, because as I say, I've never ever known it that way. And my parents were always like, my mum's already told me when my father dies, she's off to Switzerland to be put down. And I said, brilliant, I'll give you a lift to save money, because I just might as well go along with it. And then she said to me the other day, I'm going to do what my friend did. I'm going to get the hospital to take me away and burn me, and I shall have no grave and nothing. And I said, no. I want to wear you in a really exquisite necklace. She said, you bloody well won't. I said, I am, mother. I'm going to put your ashes. I'm going to take a bag of you, every sprinkle you. I'm going to have a bench mate, you know, like a dedicated bench to her.
Oh, yeah.
Place to my mum, who hated it here. Just really. I said, what are you going to do, mum? You're going to be dead. So I joke about it. Because I think when I lose my mum, I will probably grieve for the mum I didn't have.
Yeah.
Which will be really grieving. Like, I'll feel really guilty about not being sad, so I'll be really sad. You know, all of that. I will be sad, but you understand. It's a really complicated thing. Would it have hurt less if I'd known about Sarah or Morris or my aunt or Yeti? I don't know. And I still dream. My aunt died maybe 10 years ago. And I still sometimes dream that she came out of hospital, but I've forgotten to go and see her. Like, still now I'll have this guilt dream where I feel I didn't do enough. So I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh my God, I haven't phoned my aunt. And then I have to go, oh, she passed away. And I thought, maybe I'm not the only person that just lives with just this grief. Because studies say grief doesn't get smaller. It's a circle inside you and life grows around it.
Yeah.
So when it hurts the same. It doesn't ever get smaller. On the days you miss them, you don't miss them less, but some, like, life kind of grows moss around that ache. And that definitely is how I experience, like, that's how I experience grief. It will still floor me. I mean, I'm okay again 5 minutes later. And that's another thing in the book, because as you've read it, there's some moments of real sadness, and then I push them right next to, like, something really silly. I use mugs in the book.
Yes, the mugs. I need the mugs.
Well, don't worry, because I've made them all, and I shall send you one. And I shall send you, I'll send you the ones that got banned, the banned mugs list.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Yeah, it's a really good one. It's like, my editor went for it so far, and then I have one that said, like, I think Jane was having a really crap day, and Helen gave her a mug that said, if you can't beat them, eat them. Like Jeff Dahmer, which is awful. It's a terrible thing. You mustn't eat people, obviously. And we shouldn't glorify serial killers. I completely agree, but also it is a little bit funny.
It's very funny.
It's very funny, right? And now we're like, no, you've gone too far now. No, that's what I do. You're funny, Ericka, you've gone too far. So, in my experience of life, it's a bit like scrolling through Facebook. Not that any of us are on Facebook, and somebody's remembering their mum who died a year ago, and then somebody's like, "Wow, I'm eating a crisp that looks like Jesus." Do you know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, she £2, and then somebody else put on something about whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm sad, oh, I'm happy, oh, I'm sad, oh, I'm happy. And we just scroll through life and have, like, we don't sit with anything. Like, oh, my friend's cat died. Oh, new shoes. It's not. And we're just human. That's all we are, as we're human. And I wanted to represent that. And also, I do like to make people sad, because if I'm going to be sad,
you're coming down with me.
But I like to bring you back. And I do, I think I walk that line. Tragically funny. I mean, I do walk around half laugh, like, literally in a day. My husband says to me a lot, he's like, are you laughing or crying? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's me. I feel like you do have such a great balance in the book, though, of like I like that you said it's like tragically funny, because I think like death is like, it's not funny, but like if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Like it's just such a ridiculous part of life, and
Can't
it's
avoid it.
there's no
It's
kind of
going to happen.
manual to deal with it, is there? And I definitely got that with, like I told you before, that my granddad was dying at the start of the year, and we spent so much time in hospital. And when it was like his last couple of weeks, he got taken into his own room because there was a man in the room that he was in that was just an absolute psycho. So we won't go into that, but it was just so
Well,
ridiculous. Yeah, well, it's just so ridiculous though. Like it's like, why have we got this crazy patient in the bed opposite to him that's like ruining this precious time that we're supposed to be having? And then we've got this man that's like across the way that keeps threatening to like beat us all up, and it's just so surreal. But I think that what? Sorry.
can't have it. My friend Sarah, no, not my friend. I'm not saying her name. It's a different person, but it's anyway. She was saying like she had to go and see her granddad, and it was in lockdown, so I had to wave through the window. And she was
Yeah.
trying to like, "Bye, granddad, I love you," and he was going, "What's at the end of the road?" And she was trying to have like this really like,
Emotional moment.
what's up there? What, you know? And so she's like, "I don't know, granddad. Bye, see you later." And it's like, so it's really hard to have like, right, this is the last thing I'm ever going to say to you. Like, to be fair, I've talked about difficult ones. My grandmother was 96 maybe when she died. She was living alone. She had a fall. She had pneumonia, I think, not pneumonia, hypothermia. She went to hospital. They warmed her up lovely nice, like a little fish finger, right? Absolutely fine. She was eating her baked beans and cheese or whatever. And then they said to her, you're not going to be able to go home and live alone because you had this fall now. So she took all her tubes out and died.
Oh my God.
She was like, why are you doing that? I mean, this is what I'm saying. I come from difficult, really admirable women. She was like, oh, no, I'm not going in any kind of care home. Ripped out all the IVs, caught a little infection. And the last thing she said was, somebody said, do you want a sip of water? And she said, I wish it was whiskey. Gone.
Stunning.
I mean, don't get me wrong, she was a four-letter word. She was dreadful. Like when we went to see her, the thing she wanted to do to the orderly that she said really loudly was
Oh my
so
God.
impressive. But do I admire her? Yeah, she was like, right, I'm making this choice. And I don't think it's something, I didn't get to say bye to Sarah because she got taken off in an ambulance, but I am in contact with her children who are just the most amazing individuals. I'm in contact with her sister, and I think of her every day, and I try and do something. I try and keep her alive by talking about her and writing about her. And I don't know if a goodbye would have changed anything at all.
No.
I wanted Birdie to have a goodbye, but I know so many people who just didn't get that. They didn't get the opportunity, and they're still wandering around like trying to come to terms with what's happened.
But you do show both sides of it in the book, because Birdie has had experiences where she's not got to say goodbye, and that's really stayed with her. And I think it's not until she gets this kind of she gets this diagnosis, and it's almost like a new lease of life for her. She starts to find sort of the joy and the beauty in life, and it's sort of bittersweet because she's at the end of her life, but also it's kind of nice that she has this like last sort of adventure before she goes.
And what's also great is, like my autistic daughter, have you seen One Day?
Yes.
Right, the really sad bit of One Day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I come downstairs and my autistic daughter's just rewatching that scene on repeat.
Don't.
It's because they're so weird. She's such a weirdo. She's watching Happy Valley for the 8th time downstairs right now.
So good though. So good.
But she's 13, dude. She's nearly 14. And she just sits there like, I love this bit. And I'm like, oh my God. And I love the way she processes life. I love the way that she looks at things head on. And I love the way that she's like, well, yeah, obviously that's going to happen. And I say to her all the time, like, you are just my hero. She doesn't overthink things. She says what she thinks. She says, I don't like that. I don't want to touch that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk to him. This is good. I'm going to buy 10 of them in every color. Like she just embraces herself and stuff, and it's extraordinary to see. And her attitude to death and things is just, I mean, she has a massive health phobia, obviously, so that's different. But dying, she's like, well, yeah, we die. So, that's what happens. And it's quite, my friend's got an autistic daughter, and like she often, for no reason, would just go, oh, Mummy, I made you a card, and it was a lovely drawing of a graveyard with R.I.P. Mum and like of like her death on it. Card, really well done. They've got a really bizarre, I don't know, they've got like they're detached from it, but they understand it.
Yeah, but it's almost a refreshing take on life. Like 2 of my sisters are autistic as well, and I felt like the way you wrote it is Frankie, isn't it? I'm always scared I'll get the way you wrote Frankie in the book was such a like positive representation of what that looks like in a person, because it's not a negative thing, and they're often shown by like society that they're not capable of doing certain things or they're not able to do certain things. But They are. And Frankie feels like a real celebration of an autistic person and what the reality of that life is like.
We took Daisy out of school. We gave up. I was like, I can't keep having her wrenched off me. I can't keep having to turn up home. I can't cope emotionally with how much she's struggling. So we made the decision to take her out of school, however that works. We were trying to get education outside the home setting because she's got a lot of health phobias and stuff. But Daisy can mow the lawn. I can give her 100 quid and send it to Morrison's and she'll do the shopping, unpack it. She can cook, she can drive. We were in town this morning and she had the shopping list and she can direct me to anywhere. She is extraordinary. It is difficult. I don't want to sit here and say to somebody who's got a younger autistic child or an undiagnosed autistic child or somebody who goes through, because we had a 6-week period with Daisy where it broke me. So I don't want other people thinking like, oh, why is her autistic daughter okay? Why isn't she a mess? I'm a mess all the time. You've got 2 autistic sisters. Like,
Yeah.
you love them, but they drive you mad and you constantly have to compromise because they have autism. So all we say to the other 2 kids, your sister has autism.
Yeah.
Jane will say to me, she has autism. And I'll say to Jane, remember, she has autism. It's really hard. It's very rewarding. She's probably the best friend I've ever had. Like, I literally think I grew my own best friend. We have a really intense relationship. It's not, I'm very pro spectrum, but I know that there are a couple of years with Daisy where if somebody had been saying to me, oh, it's great, I love it, I'd have felt even worse than I did at the time. So I think I've written a positive story about autism because I'm really sick of the stigma. And I never say in the book that she has autism, and Min is very adamant that it's everybody else has a problem. Because I don't want to keep explaining, like, what's wrong with your daughter? Nothing's wrong with my daughter. What's wrong with your face? You know, you just get fed up with things. But I do think I do want to kind of add, like, I'm not being glib because I do know there have been days where I've thought she's going to be an inpatient. I've thought like she is going to have to go into some kind of, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help her, and
Yeah, but you've written, it is a positive representation of that, but you also don't sort of hide away from the fact that like it is also difficult dealing with somebody with autism. I don't know if that's probably like really shocking wording. Don't cancel me for that. But
go with this.
She's cancelled. But I mean, like Jane gets really frustrated with her, and you don't hide that. You're not like, oh, she's a perfect little angel, because that's not, humans aren't, like, we're not.
I called Daisy Hag because she sat there looking at me, I don't know, about 6 months ago, really looking at my face, tracing my face, really looking, and then she went, Mum, you are such a hag.
Wow.
Yeah, and she meant it. And I was like, well, it's because I spend all my time with you, my darling. It's very, very tiring. So I call her Haggy, and she dances a bit because you have to own it. And if you're sensitive, which I am, and if you have rejection sensitivity disorder, which I do, apparently, I'm told, and other things, spending time with the autistic kid can be a bit like having a plaster ripped off the hairiest part of your body quite often. But also, they live a really full life. Daisy feels every emotion. If she's hungry, she's definitely hungry. And if she's angry, she's fucking angry. And if she's happy, she's delirious and she's doubled over and she's laughing. And for however long, I hope she lives for 1,000 million years, but her life is so rich. Does that make sense? And you think that she's like, I love this ice cream, I'm going to eat 10 more. Or there's never like this, my teenager's like, whatever. So whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever's cool with me. And like Daisy's like, bang, 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 bang. And it's almost enviable in some ways. Because I remember, like, when she got diagnosed, the guy that diagnosed her said, she will struggle with empathy. And that really upset me because it's not true. I don't know about your sisters, but Daisy's got so much empathy. Like, she'll see somebody sad, like if there's a homeless person, she'll go, I think we should give her some money, or she'll hold the door open for somebody, although she will say, you did not thank me and you are rude if they don't thank her. But like, sometimes I fall asleep before her, I feel her tuck me in and she'll even give me a little kiss. Like, there's no way that people on the spectrum do not have the full range of emotions that we have. In all cases, I know there are some cases, but again, they've been given quite a bad press.
Yeah, for sure. To round off this episode, Ericka, we like to finish on recommendations. Do you want to give us a quick fire of some books that you have been loving recently?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Hannah. What a fantastic question. Get up the list that I prepared earlier. Right, so The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Taunton. I love The Devil in the Dark Water. I didn't read Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It's a really twisty, turny, genre blending whodunit, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Hold Back the Night by Jessica Moore is out now.
Yes. I read Jessica Moore's Young Women, I think it was.
Okay, so this is set in 1950s, 1980s, and then in lockdown. It's about a woman who wanted to be a nurse but couldn't cope with blood, so she worked in a mental hospital. She ended up giving conversion therapy to gays, and then trying to tone during the AIDS crisis in the 80s. She housed a lot of people who got turned away from hospital, and then she reflected on it in 2020. I'd basically say essential reading. Like, there's no, like, you just have to read this book. That completely just broke me. There's one book here that I really want to say that I loved, and it's called How We Named the Stars. It might not be getting as much love as, but it's about relationship breakdown between two boys. Then he goes back to Mexico to spend some time with his grandfather. So it's a look about grief, but it's really joyful, really, really joyful. Anything by Jo Callahan, who did Leave No Trace and In the Blink of an Eye. She will blow your mind. And there is Our Glorious Expats. Did you read that?
No.
I can't explain what it's about because it will sound really boring, and it isn't, but just give it a little Google. But I read a lot, and on my website, I have a recommended like books I've been reading.
You do, you've got so many good recommendations on there.
So I do try and put them up there every single month. So if people are interested, no hate mail, please, but you can.
No, absolutely. I'll fight anybody that sends you any hate mail because we're best friends now. So best friends. Best friends forever.
Girls before 12s. I never know the
Good God. Right. So they can buy, our lovely listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, and Goodbye Birdie Greenwing, if we've managed to make this book appeal to you because we got carried away with chatting too much. But I would highly, highly recommend this book. I loved it so much. I love these characters. I really miss them. And I'm going to pop a link in the show notes for you to order yourselves a copy. I cannot speak on Dog Days, but go buy a copy of that because Ericka's great, and I'm sure that you'll also love that as well. Like I loved Goodbye Birdie Greenwing.
People order and they send me or you like a confirmation. I am offering an exclusive opportunity to own a hand crocheted ghost. The whole point is they haunt your to be read piles. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have to crochet to stop my fingers from seizing up, and I know that hardback's really expensive, so my way of saying thank you, I'll just send a little hand crocheted ghost.
I'm obsessed with this.
Right, it's not very big and it's not very clever, but when we come to Manchester, we're going to get matching ghost tattoos.
Yes.
At a flex that will get infected.
Yes. I'm so ready for this. I'm so excited.
And they'll never properly heal. They'll weep forever.
Yeah.
What happened to my ear? So if they message you when they message me, obviously I don't feel I'm going to be over inundated with the orders. So, but if they would like to, it's a silly thing, but I just want to say thank you for supporting me and thank you for picking it.
I love that so much. And where can they follow you on social media?
At Ericka Waller 1.
Waller, not Waller.
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 On my website, which is Ericka Waller. So yes, thank you very much for having me on. I'm sorry I took up so much of your time.
No, thank you for coming on. Honestly, this has been one of my favourite episodes.
I'll come on every week. I'll just pretend to be someone else.
No, we won't get anything done. There'll be nothing. We basically spent the first 20 minutes just crying, laughing.
I'll just pretend to be who's on my bookshelves. Hey, Atkinson, I'm so it's actually talks.
Right, I'm kicking you off now.
I'm going. Right, I love you.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
You're the best. And that is my episode with Ericka Waller done. Thank you so much for listening. I am absolutely in love with her. She was incredible. Her book is amazing. And if you want to give us a follow, you can do so at Pair of Bookends Pod on Instagram and at Pair of Bookends on Twitter and TikTok. And for extra content, you can head on over to patreon.com/Pair of Bookends, where I am now joined by my wonderful friend of the pod, Emma Hines, who is an incredible author, and you'll get an episode a month if you subscribe to our Patreon with the two of us. So thanks so much for listening, and goodbye.